Debbie.
Hi. I thought it would be a good idea today to talk about confidentiality and how we help our client understand the importance of confidentiality and what we're prepared or not prepared to uphold when a client comes to us to talk about their concerns.
Okay.
So can you give me an example about what you say to a client when they come for the first time?
Yes.
What do you do? What do you say to them?
Well, at the start of a session, if I've got a new client, I will always, one of the first key things I will say to them will be, everything that you talk about in the space with me today is going to be completely confidential, and it will stay that way for as long as we are working together. Yeah. It helps to build a trusting working relationship. It helps for the client to feel more relaxed to disclose more about what they would like to talk about. But I don't just say it the one time at the start of the therapy together. What I do is I maintain my level of confidentiality and keep reassuring them throughout my work with them, because they're not going to tell me everything
in the first session.
In the first session, absolutely. So,
or in the first few weeks even.
Yeah, absolutely. So they will, they may say, "Oh, I'm not sure whether I want to talk about X, Y, or Z." Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. I just want to reassure you that everything that we talk about in these four walls stays in these four walls, and it's completely confidential. Yeah.
So it really relaxes the client. It's to help them feel at ease.
Yeah.
To reassure them.
Yeah.
And that helps them open up a little bit more and more as the weeks go by.
Yes.
And sometimes they'll test that confidentiality.
Yes, they will.
They'll
yes.
test whether we've remembered something.
Yeah.
Just little tests.
Yeah.
So that's really important. So what about the limits of confidentiality? We have to let the client know that we're not above the law. So while we're saying everything they tell us is in confidence, it's actually not. Because they may disclose that they want to harm themselves, or they may disclose they want to harm someone else, or
they may want to harm me.
Yes, you, or even, rob a bank, do some sort of crime. So it is important to let the client know that there are limits to that confidentiality, so at least they know where their own boundaries or limitations are for what they disclose. And one thing I do reassure them, that I would never talk to an official behind their back.
Yeah.
If I felt the need to disclose something a client has shared with me, I will always discuss that with the client first.
So whether it's to the local authority, whether it's to the GP or psychiatrist,
social services, the client will know, and they can share with me how they feel about that. I can express with them the importance and why, because it's about maintaining their safety, and usually it works quite well. So that's really important, and I have actually had to do it. So
I've had to do that as well.
Yeah. But we can talk about that in further videos when we come to looking at client safety and ethics and so forth.
Yeah. So what about maintaining confidentiality outside of the therapeutic space?
Well, given that clients tend to want to find a therapist that's local to where they live, it's likely that we're to bump into them.
Yeah.
And it is important to let them know that, we may bump into you outside the space, and what are we going to do? So we have to negotiate that, or to make something very clear about how we're going to manage that.
Well, what I normally say to my clients is that if I was to bump into you outside of the space, I would not approach you.
Yeah, that's important.
Unless you approached me first. And that is purely to maintain client confidentiality and to maintain our therapeutic relationship. Because it did happen to me. I bumped into somebody in John Lewis. I didn't bump into him. He saw me, and he was with his wife, and his wife was paying for something at the till, and he was kind of like hiding behind one of the clothing racks, and he was kind of like just letting me know that he's seen me, and it's all right, Riz, don't worry. And so I just kind of like acknowledged and nodded, and we talked about it at our next session, and it was fine. But it was a weird feeling,
But could you imagine what would have happened if you had not discussed how to manage that?
Yeah.
That could have been very, very awkward.
Yeah.
And what I do say to my clients is that I won't assume that they're alone if they're standing alone or if they're walking alone.
Yeah, I around from the aisle from a supermarket or something.
A friend can pop out from around the corner, and that could be also very embarrassing. So I still say, look, if we bump into one another, I will just ignore you. And you may feel ignored. It's very counterintuitive to not just say hello.
Yes.
So, and I will always take my cue from them first. And we also have to maintain that once the counselling or the therapy has finished.
Ended, yes.
It's forever. That rule is forever.
Yeah.
It's 6 months later, it's a month later, it's 6 years later.
Yeah.
That confidentiality has to be maintained throughout.
Yes.
Very
Absolutely.
important, that one.
Yeah. And it can happen that, you know, you may even cross paths socially at a party
Absolutely.
or a
That can
function.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I always say to my clients, again, you know, if that is the case, I would probably more than likely greet you if I put in that position. But
As a stranger.
as a stranger, or, you know, if I did know you, but that would be it for the rest of the party kind of thing, you know.
Move away.
Yeah, yeah, it can get very awkward.
I've had to before when that's happened, leave.
Yeah.
You just stay a little while, whatever the function is, because, you know, there's lots of CPD courses and, you know, sometimes clients may turn up to those events and I will stay a while and then I will leave.
Yeah.
It's their space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about supervision? Because ethically and to work very well, for good practitioners will always have a supervisor.
Absolutely. Health and safety
Health and
requires
safety.
that you are in supervision and a personal therapy. But supervision would be the only other time you wouldn't necessarily break confidentiality, but you would take client material to work with to move forward with the client. And I would share with the client that I do take my work, if needed, to my supervisor to support my work.
Yeah, to talk it through. But they wouldn't know the person by name.
No.
They will have no access to their phone numbers or addresses. That we just talk about client A.
Yeah.
And that's all we do. So, but it is important to have a supervisor, and I will let the client know that the only time that the material is discussed outside of this room is with a supervisor, whom will know nothing about who they are.
No.
And that's important. And I have to stress that that's also about health and safety. It's also about ethics and good practice.
Yes.
So that's important.
Yeah, very key. So finally, notes.
Note taking, yes. What do we do about notes? I think if you work in a agency, the agency will have their own policies about how they manage their notes and where they file them, but usually it will always be in a locked cupboard or locked room.
Yeah. But you and I, we both have a private practice. So for me, it's about making sure if I've taken any notes or any client information is kept confidential in a locked drawer or in a locked cupboard. So out of any prying eyes or any sneaky peekers.
That's right, yes, absolutely important to actually make sure everything is locked and secured away, or everything's in code and there's no names on anything. But what is important, I do have a list, and that is also about good best practice. It's a list of my client details that has instructions on it to get to my supervisor as soon as possible.
What, in case you get knocked down by a bus or something?
Yeah, in the event of an accident or my death or me falling into a coma or anything.
Debbie, don't leave me.
Don't
worry, we'll get them to the supervisor.
Yes, the supervisor will have those details and she will phone my clients and inform them and support them through that to find alternative help.
Good practice, Debs.
Good practice, that's very important. Confidentiality, ethics and good practice is very important. So,
got to work with integrity, people.
Integrity indeed. So until next time.
Take care.
Next topic, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye for now. Right, that's got to be it. That's got to be it. That's got to be it.